Hey guys, alright, I'm ready for another round. I hope y'all are too. I say I'm ready, but I'm still gathering a couple supplies, because you know, that's how I am. I decided, you know what though, I'm just going to gather those supplies while I was going to say while I was on the phone with you, but I'm not on the phone with you while I have the video recording. Alright, because why not? We can catch up, right? Alrighty, so I have our cups here. Loving how they are turning out. So beautiful. They've come out really, really good. They are still a tad rough in some areas where the glitter is sticking up a little bit more and the resin didn't cover. That's fine. They're going to get covered again with probably at least 2 more rounds of resin. So, not really concerned about that. You'll notice this one has its feet. This one's feet are over here. For some reason, this arm slips out of those. I don't know. This one is more secure. It comes off, but it's more secure. So, anyway. Doesn't change anything. It just is what it be. So, this next step, I cut some vinyl on my Cricut. And basically, kind of similar to what I was doing with our cheetah print. I just about lost my little thing. I'm going to see if there's any set way that I like better than the others, or like a flaw that I want to cover. But truthfully, if I have to be truly honest, there's not really a flawed area on here. I'm pretty happy. Might consider that a little flaw because there's a little flake there. That's where we're gonna go. So anyway, so similar to how we did the cheetah print, I'm doing this stencil vinyl, and I cut out this like faux spray paint splatter. Okay, I'm like, I can't think and apply this apparently at the same time. It really doesn't matter if this isn't like perfect because it's a splatter. The goal is that I just want it to basically give us some definition. Ultimately is what I'm wanting. And give us a white spot. I need a white spot to put the next step that we're going to do. And I want these little guys to come off of there. So we're going to do some reverse weeding basically. So I wasn't worried about all the little dots coming off just yet. My biggest thing was, let's get this on here and get it situated. And then we'll worry about that. Now I want to make sure that I cover that spot because I don't want those funky lines there, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's see. Oh, there's like a little spot there. Let's do like that. And if you haven't seen the other videos, I feel like sometimes this is repetitive, but just in case you're joining in the middle of a series and you haven't watched other videos, this tool is a mechanical pencil with a needle in it. Might just have to start telling people you're just gonna have to go back and see what you've missed, because you know what, I'm feeling a little spicy tonight, and I could just say, you know what, it's your loss if you don't go back and look at those other videos. Like, why haven't you already? I'm teasing, of course. Like I said, I feel a little spicy tonight, so I'm just going to go around and do some weeding. In the meantime, That's a little boring for just y'all. So, why don't we share a story maybe, right? Why not? Why the heck not? Actually, before I do that, I'm going to do this corner kind of similar to what I did in that other corner. And that's going to be, we're just going to put a cut because the curve isn't, the way it curves, it's not exactly straight for what we're doing. Or like, it's not an even cut. I'm not doing well describing it. So it's going to automatically not lay perfectly just because we're not working with a straight, even spot. So this is a little funky right here. A little slowly. I'll just rip that off and then I think it will be fine. Yeah. I think it's going to be fine. Okay. So, and basically we're going to do the same thing on that one and then we'll paint this. So, in the meantime, we'll tell a little story so that it's not so boring. You can get to know a little bit maybe more about me. And so forth. And if I fade off, it's just because I'm focused on trying to get the piece that I'm trying to get off and I can't talk and do that at the same time. You know, happens to the best of us. So, and usually when I craft, I sit and I listen to music or a podcast. I'm still pretty new at this YouTube tutorial thing, so you know, we're still learning all of our techniques and how to juggle it all. But anywho, trying to think of a fun story to tell everyone, or just maybe not even fun, just a true story of my life. So I think I've said in one of the videos, tutorials, that I was born in Colorado. I only spent about 5 years of my life in Colorado though, before my family moved to Arkansas. But I'll tell you, one of my first memories as a child, I had to only been, I've always said I was probably 5, but truthfully I was probably like 4. I had a little tricycle, you know, one of those little red tricycles, metal tricycles, Radio Flyer, I think. And we lived down a dirt road, and we lived across from a cemetery. I remember that. And the train ran by there as well. Like beyond the cemetery was a big drop-off hill kind of thing, because we lived up kind of on the hill, and there was this big drop-off hill and the railroad track was down below, so we'd hear the train a lot. Ironically, most everywhere I've lived has had a train or a train track. Most everywhere, not everywhere, but quite I always end up back where a train is. It's kind of fun little factoid. So anywho, so that kind of sets the scene. We're on a dirt road. Our driveway was a pretty big driveway and had a pretty big, like, turnaround spot and parking area, I guess. Though our house was modest, for sure. Very small. But anywho, honestly, I think my parents rented that place. I really don't know. But anywho, so on this, I would ride my tricycle, which if anybody's ever tried to ride a tricycle on a dirt road or gravel or dirt for that matter, it's not the easiest thing. But when it's what you have, that you just learn to roll with it, and I learned to roll with it. So we had this huge anthill in the driveway, and my parents always like taught me right and wrong, and like, hey, don't mess with the anthill, because it was a red anthill, and they're like, those are fire ants and they will hurt if you get bit or stung. Good solid advice, right? But what do most kids do when their parents say don't do something? They're gonna test the water a little bit, right? So this one day, and I remember this so vividly, I was like, oh, I'm gonna ride my tricycle right over that anthill. I'm going to do it. I'm so amazing and awesome, and I can do this. It'll be fine. What do my parents know? I don't even think I said that to myself. It was more just I was going to be brave and do this, which is funny. You know, I'm only 4 or 5, so kind of crazy. So here I am. I get up the courage. I don't tell my parents, of course, because I'm sure they would have said this is a really bad idea. So I'm out there, and I'm an only child, so mine, that too, like, kind of give you some mentality. So, and no friends around, so you entertain yourself. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I start riding my tricycle really fast on the gravel, and I get up to the anthill and I ride right through it. No hesitation. I get to the other side and I'm like, yeah, I did it. And I was so proud of myself, y'all. So proud. I look down and there's a red ant crawling on my leg. Oh my gracious. I had a full freak out moment. Flew off of that tricycle and started doing the heebie-jeebie dance, shaking my leg, spinning a circle. I mean, just, I wish, like, my parents had looked outside and seen this, because I'm sure it would have been hilarious, or had, you know, this day and age, we'd have a cell phone, and we'd have video of it, but needless to say, I'm older, and that was not a thing back then. Cell phones were not a thing. So, yeah, no video of it. Parents didn't even see it. They didn't even know about this until later. Many years later. Like, you know, older and told them fun stories about childhood. I'm like, did you know that I did this? They had no clue. So anyway, I'm out there just doing this crazy friggin' dance. And shaking my leg and moving all around, doing the hocus pocus, basically. Like, hoping that I don't get hurt and have to tell my parents that I screwed up. And I don't even know how long I did it. It's several minutes, it felt like. But it's probably only seconds. You know, it probably wasn't even a minute. And then I stopped and I looked and the ant was gone. And it was hallelujah. I did survive. And I don't have to tell my parents I got stung a bit. Hindsight, probably good I never did, because older now, I was doing some yard work one day and actually did get stung by a red ant inadvertently. I didn't ride my tricycle or my bike through their anthill. I was weeding and accidentally grabbed it, not seeing it, and it got me. And I'm telling you what, did I ever swell up, and that little booger was painful. I didn't realize it could be so painful. And that's as an adult. So I can't imagine what it would have been like had I been 4 or 5. So, and now I know I probably have like an allergy to them, you know, so I don't mess with them. But that's my funny, crazy little ant story. My memory. One of my first memories. My parents, we had some land there. Like I said, I think they had to have rented that property, but it was on, like, I say land, like it was like an acre, maybe not even, but it wasn't developed around us really either. Like I said, there was a cemetery across the street, and there was a field behind us. Neighbors were a little ways away, so they at one point decided that they wanted to raise some chickens. That was our first introduction to raising chickens, was when I was really young. And then, so we got baby chicks, day old. I don't even know how we got them. I just remember them being like in this box that my dad and I built. This wood box that we set up to be kind of their brooding house until they got old enough to be able to go out to the actual chicken house outside and have a pen to run in. And then we got a pig. We had a pig. Sad thing is, you know, pig got loaded up one day to go to the butcher. And the chickens, my parents decided they were gonna dive into doing it themselves and clean those chickens up themselves, and that is quite a process. So they had a book, because again, remember, this is pre-cell phone, pre-laptop, pre-internet Google kind of stuff. And so they had this book about how to. So here's little old me, like 4 or 5, and I pull up my little lawn chair. I had like this folding lawn chair like adults have, but it was it'd be like what your grandparents would have now, or used to have. I don't think I've seen one in a while like that, but anyway, doesn't matter. The big old, I had a miniature one, or a mini one, a kid size one. So there's pictures literally of me sitting in this little lawn chair out there, my parents holding a book and trying to process these chickens up, hanging off of the clothesline, essentially. And it's ironic because what my family ends up doing when we eventually are in Arkansas, and we'll get to that at some point, but it's just the irony of it that this is what we were doing when I was that young. And then my mom, because my parents were like, oh, we're gonna be, you know, they were a little bit at that phase, and all through lives, a little bit what some people might call like kind of hippie-ish energy, aware of things, and agriculturally like aware of like where our food came from and things of that nature. And so they were like, we're gonna do this and it will be so great because then we'll have fried chicken, and my mom has a stellar fried chicken recipe. So they were like, okay, we're gonna do it and we'll have chicken for dinner. Great. I sat there, watched the whole thing, monitored, you know, supervised from the side, basically. I have these little sticky pieces on me. I keep trying to get them off. They're not coming off very well. But, and so then Mom brought one of them in and dressed it up in the kitchen and fried it up and so forth. And story goes, we all sat down for dinner and my parents looked at it and they couldn't eat a thing. They were like, we can't do it. And they look over and I'm there just chowing down. I thought it was the best thing ever. This is good fried chicken. My mom made good fried chicken. Like, oh goodness. So, yeah. I have definitely an interesting childhood, let's just say. That was just at 5. So I'm using a piece of masking tape. And I'm just grabbing those little pieces that were stuck to my fingers and stuck to my mat here. So that one's ready, as you can see. And I cleaned up that so it won't create a funky spot. So that's good. Now we'll do the next one. Alright. So yeah, let's see. So that's kind of what I remember about Colorado. I mean, little sprinkles of memories, obviously. At that age, you don't have a ton. And then we moved when I was 5. They packed up and we moved to Arkansas from Colorado. And boy, oh boy, that was an adventure. They loaded up this big U-Haul, pulled our Honda Civic behind the U-Haul on a car trailer, and then we had our pickup truck that was driven. So one parent was driving the big U-Haul pulling the Honda, and then the other was driving our Toyota pickup truck. So, and then we would, of course, stop along the way and things of that nature, of course, like any family moving. It's pretty common. I do remember I had this stuffed fox is a stuffed animal fox, and not a real taxidermy stuffed fox. It's a true, actual stuffed animal fox. And we stopped at a McDonald's for lunch, and we probably got 30 miles down the road, and I realized I didn't have my fox anymore. I left him at the McDonald's, so we pulled over, and I want to say probably my dad stayed with the U-Haul truck, and my mom and I went in the little Toyota pickup truck, and we drove back the 30 miles to the McDonald's to see if it was there. And it was. Somebody had turned it in, thankfully, and I got my little stuffed fox back, and we went back on down the road. Sure, my parents loved that. But I do, I have vague memory of it, and of course my parents have told the story, so I know it, but it's just kind of funny. But we moved to Arkansas, and we moved to this little town literally in the middle of nowhere in the Ozarks. It is truly one of those towns that if you were to blink, you would miss it. So, moved from beautiful mountains to I moved to mountains too with the Ozarks. Lived in this little hick town. Would be another way you could say it. Forgive me, any of my grade school and high school friends that might ever come across my YouTube tutorial. But that's kind of what it is. Moved there, and goodness, wasn't always the warm welcome that you would expect from the South, for sure. It was definitely more your hickish town, cliquey town. And like I said, blink if you miss it. You could literally blink and miss it. It had basically a one-room post office and a little gas station and grocery store. I think 2 pumps. One pump, one on each side of that pump or something. Crazy small. And then, my dad had gotten this job with a nonprofit, and was going to be part of, I don't know the full story, to be honest with you. He got hired for one job, and then it kind of evolved and branched into other jobs, and eventually, at one point, he was the energy director or head of the energy department and things of that nature. And then he actually became, the director got fired or quit or something. So he became, the head director running it. My mom was part of the office staff and doing accounting and the books and trying to help with that. It was this big community center. So it sat on 1,000 acres, which is just wild. And like I said, it was a nonprofit, so they had this big community center that had this massive kitchen, all kinds of rooms that you could take classrooms to and learn stuff. There was a whole greenhouse and garden area, then outside across the land, not all over the land, but just right outside that community center. And then it had solar panels on it, and basically all about sustainable living. And they would bring in these groups of kids, usually probably middle school to high school kind of age. And sometimes they were day groups, sometimes they were weekend groups type thing, sometimes week-long camps, things like that. So there was a boys' dorm and a girls' dorm, separate buildings on that property near the community center. This massive windmill, you wouldn't believe how big that windmill was. It's pretty cool. An area underneath the windmill, it had a covered area, which was kind of cool. Like I said, huge like big old greenhouse, and then office spaces off of that, and then like huge mechanical room, creepy areas. I had my first ghost encounter there. Lots of offices, and then just educational space. There was a gift shop, there was an auditorium that was huge. I used to love to watch like the Lorax on there, or if my parents, if nobody was there, Puff the Magic Dragon was one of my favorite movies that I'd watch on it, on the big screen. I get a pillow. They had these couches that were like wooden couches, but that had cushions that velcroed on and off. And so I'd go and I'd take one of those big old cushions and unvelcro it from the couch and take it down to the auditorium and set it up on wherever I wanted to watch from. Because the auditorium didn't have chairs, but it had like levels for seating, and normally they would set up the chairs when it was time. But I would take one of those cushions as my chair and sit and watch a movie. It's pretty fun. So it was fun. Huge library area. So that was cool. Men's and women's restrooms. Like, it was a pretty big deal. And like I said, my dad like kind of ping-ponged and pretty quickly like ended up in that director position. And like I said, I don't remember the full story because I was young. I was definitely young and just living my best life, I guess, with it all. So yeah, that was wild. When we first got there, we lived in this one house, and it had plumbing, so that was pretty cool, but we weren't there long. It had a really weird downstairs basement. It was like, to get to it, you get to it from outside by a sliding glass door. So in the back of the house, the downstairs was like at ground level. But if you were upstairs, that side was second story, and then the front was at ground level. So that kind of makes sense. Kind of what here in Kentucky we would call like a walkout basement type thing. But here's the weird part. So you could access it from a sliding glass door outside, or from inside. In the dining room, there was this trap door that like lifted up and revealed the stairs. So bizarre. And then there was a room that literally you would go in. It was like this utility sort of room. My dad would have to go in there and check stuff sometimes. And I want to say there were pipes in there and stuff. But it was full of all these rocks. And it used to freak me out because my dad would be like, you got to look out for snakes. Like, you know, they would love all these rocks. And I'm like, what the hell? We're in a freaking house, and yet this is inside. It was really wild. We weren't there long in that house because my dad did get moved to the director position. So then they moved us to the house below that, and we were there a really long time actually in that house. But that house did not have full plumbing. So you had water, and kitchen had water, no dishwasher. So all dishes were done by hand. And then in your bathrooms, you had water in your sinks, and you had water in your shower and bathtubs, but you had composting toilets. So yeah, grew up with composting toilets. I still actually have nightmares about those composting toilets and how they work, and in my nightmares usually they're getting full and need to be, and really stinky and gross and need to be rotated. Yeah, not fun. So enough about that. But we were there in that house a really long time. I learned that I sleepwalk because in that house I slept walk, which was amazing. I didn't get hurt because that one was a really weird, you can't call it a bow level, you can't call it a child level, but it was like you're in the dining room, and then you in kitchen area, and then you walk up 4 steps and you're in the living room, And that's the only place you can go from there. So you go back down those steps and you would go up like 4 stairs and be in this little weird hallway. You could go left to go up a huge flight of stairs to go to the upstairs, or you could go straight to a bathroom, or straight and then left into a bedroom that became an office at one point, or go a little bit straight and go to the right and go down 3 or 4 steps and into another bedroom. It's really bizarre. Really, really bizarre laid out. But we were there for many, many years. I would say like, I was 6, and then, goodness, we were probably there like 8 years. So, really long time. Doors didn't really lock. Had sliding glass doors. Had like 4 sliding glass doors, but one was the main sliding glass door. None of them locked well. The sunroom's door stuck because it was a wood door, so in the humidity it would expand and get stuck and sometimes wouldn't shut to lock all the way. So I have nightmares about that too, that we can't get them to lock and then I have to keep slamming it and getting it just right to get it to lock. So that's fun. I promise my childhood was not that bad, but yeah, I guess I have some unfinished trauma from that, I guess. Unprocessed trauma, shall they say. Let's see. Oh, let's do, hopefully I don't freak anybody out, but do my ghostly encounter here. Maybe. We might not have time for it. It's not that long, actually. I think I got all these. I'm going to just double check, but I got to get some of these little stickers off of me. So, my first ghostly encounter. So we had some sort of group in town, or I say in town, on property basically. And so when, again, I was an only child, there were other families that like worked at the center and stuff, but they weren't always on property. So I didn't have like kids my age to necessarily play with all the time. I had to be very self-reliant basically. And because both parents were working and busy and things of that nature. So anyway, there was some sort of group in, and I was doing something. I don't exactly remember, but I had created some kind of like invoice type thing or spreadsheet type thing, but this is pre-computer, so it was like handwritten or something, and I was going to use it for whatever make-believe story I was doing at the time. And they had a copier, and so I could make copies on that copier. Now, mind you, you had to log all your copies, and I had to pay like 10 cents or something silly amount for copies. So I don't remember. Maybe I was making like 50 and I was gonna pay $5. I don't know. I don't even remember how many, but I remember that it was copying, and it was lunchtime. So I was like, oh, I need to go wash up and I need to go down to lunch. I'll go down to the kitchen and dining hall and have lunch, and then I'll come get my copies. No biggie. Just like a weird divot there. That's really bizarre. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that, and then I'll get my copies. All good. So I go wash up, I go down, get my lunch, have lunch. You know, I don't know how much time passed, because for me, it was summertime. I was doing my own thing. Like, time was kind of irrelevant, you know, as a kid. You don't really have a hold on that. But I would say it had to have been at least a minimum of 30 minutes. Like, by the time I got through the line for food, got my food, ate, you know, chatted with people, and got back up to, oh, I missed a whole little area here. Got back up to the copier. So a minimum of 30 minutes. Probably realistically it was 45 minutes to an hour. But let's even just say 30 minutes. So I come back up, and I pick up my copies off the slot that they had, the tray that they had gotten laid into. And I go to open the copy machine. It was one that opened up and over. And as I opened the copy machine to get my original, this, I don't know how to describe it, but this misty form like formed up, like almost like steam. But the problem is that machine had been sitting for a while, and it came up and it came kind of together, and then it came back out, formed like a ball, and came back up and just disappeared. I am going to tell you now that I grabbed my original, threw the lid down, and ran out of that office like none other. I was so fast out of there, and I ran to my mom's office, which was across the hall, and freaked out. She was so busy. God love her. She was so busy, and she was just like, Rebecca, you're fine. It just had to be the steam or something. It's fine. But of course, I was panicked. So of course, I told my dad, and he's like, there's probably some explanation. I'm busy. Like, move along. So they didn't really think anything of it. But I will tell you, I never made copies again by myself. And I don't even think I made copies again, to be honest with you. And then I also never would go in that office by myself ever again. Never, ever. So, yeah, true story. Fun times. Alrighty. So, back to crafting. Didn't know you were joining a paranormal show today, right? So, I have this stencil. I want white to be down because I'm going to put a temporary tattoo on, and temporary tattoos can't give good vibrant color off of a dark background. So you want to have a white background for that to pop well. So we have some Prime Time, which is a counterculture DIY product. It's a quick stick primer that will basically give us this look that we want and go over. I'm basically just going to use this dabber and dab it around and get this all covered. So and I shook the container so that it would be mixed while I was telling my ghostly story. So yeah, and then I'm just basically, when I get to these granted on this edge, I'm just being careful to not go too crazy, and I don't want to go too crazy and have it like seep under, so I don't want a ton. That's why I wanted the dabber, because I can help manipulate how much paint we have. So I'm putting the glob in the center, and then I'm working through on those dots, and then filling in the center because I need the center to be white as well. And we'll probably do another layer of white in the big area just to hide our daubing spots, but I'm going to let this layer dry before I do that. And basically I should be able to, this is so quick of drying, I should pretty much be able to do this one, do the other one, do the second layer on this one, and do the second layer on that one. So should be pretty easy. These little dauber things I got at had them for a while now. I think I got them at Hobby Lobby. Pretty certain. And I saw them and I was like, oh, those would be really good for this project I was going to do. And I never got to that project. It was a project I was going to do for my mom, and unfortunately it just wasn't meant to be, because I didn't get it done before she passed. So again, if you haven't watched a previous series, go watch the episode or series on Origami Crane. I know that's different and unique, but that's the one that I dive into my mom and that side of things. So anyway, I've had these daubers for a while, and so I'm pretty certain they were a Hobby Lobby find. And I was like, I know what I'm going to use them for. This cup, they'll be perfect. Because I didn't want a brushed look. I didn't want to brush on with these dots up here. Because I really just want it to look kind of a naturally spray paint. without being spray paint. This doesn't have the awful smell that the spray paint has. And I don't have to be outside. I can be in my workspace. That way y'all can see the process. That kind of stuff. So, you know. Plus, would have meant I would have to buy spray paint. Plus, then I didn't want it to just... I don't want to spray paint the whole cup. I mean, we spent all this time getting that leopard print. So beautiful. I didn't want to cover it. So, you know. Yeah, I think that's looking really good. This one might have coated a little better than that one did, actually. I don't know what I did different. Really and truly. Looks like a little excess paint there, though. So in the light, sometimes you catch those little extras. So this definitely needs more so that we can avoid this dauber circle look. I don't know what's going on there, but it's like an extra divot too. I don't know if I had a fisheye starting or what in the resin. This next round of resin though should clean all that up, which is good. This probably has, I'm going to say 2 more coats of resin, because I would say I want to get a good coat over this white once I'm going to put the temporary tattoo on next, and then I might add some vinyl. I haven't worked that fully out in my head yet, so we'll see. Oh, that's what I was afraid of by going over it. I would start pulling it off. I'm gonna just let that sit for a minute. I might put the heat gun on it just for a moment. So I might do a little bit of vinyl, like a vinyl saying or something, or I might just write the saying on a little card and put it in the gift. But I'm thinking, see, this is where sometimes when I'm in that creative process, I can't process mentally like what I'm trying to say. After a day of work and everything else and kids and first day of school here, all that. Just afraid I dipped that into the lid, but I didn't. I really don't know where I was going with that, y'all. Completely lost that train of thought. Oh, I might put it on just a card that I put in it. I don't know yet. It all just kind of depends. So I haven't worked through that process. So next step will be, we're going to get, this will fully dry. We're going to take the vinyl off here soon though, so that it, just like with our Mod Podge, we don't want that to stick and get stuck and peel the whole paint process off. But I wanted to get enough of a layer on that it would be pretty well ready for the temporary tattoo. So then temporary tattoo, and then if we do vinyl, we'll put the vinyl, and then we'll do a layer of resin, and then I'll do one more layer just as a final seal, basically. Wow, I like really globbed right there. Like, did not see that until I put it up on this stand and the light hit it just right. I was like, jeez. So just nice stopped. Problem with doing this is then you get so much in your dauber. You want to spread it around. I know it seems silly that we're covering that work that we did with the cheetah print, but I have the vision. The vision is coming to me, and I do believe it will work out nicely. And sometimes you just gotta trust the process. And so we are fully trusting this process. I'm gonna just do a little bit because the lid has, oh, well, I say that and then I like globbed a ton on. Maybe it was not the best of ideas. But, you know, you just sometimes gotta keep working it and trust that it's gonna pull itself together, or that you'll pull it together. Because let's be honest, we're the artist. So we get to make the final say on this stuff. Sometimes that pressure is too high though for me, I'll be honest with you. Ah, that's pot. That's what you gotta be careful with when you keep going, is that I like these doublers because you can put your finger in it, and I feel like I get quite a bit of control. I don't know if I'm making it better, worse, better, worse, better. Oh goodness. I feel like this one I have too much on it. I feel like that one looks a lot better. But like as I do this one, I'm like, now it's, you know, pulling some of it up and not getting covered like I want it to be. But I felt like it was just too thick in areas. Alright. I'm going to blast those with just a smidge of heat and the heat gun. Yes, I'm doing it left-handed because, you know, why not? I do things left-handed sometimes. I do left-handed sometimes. I'm crazy. I'm almost left-handed. I've always been right-handed. Although there are some major things that I do left-handed, and it's pretty bizarre. It's a story for another day, but when my parents eventually had a chicken farm and did that side of things, I think I've mentioned that we had a USDA processing plant. So when I'd worked the USDA processing plant, I actually gut a chicken left-handed. I cannot gut them right-handed, but left-handed, I'm such a pro. It's so weird because most people go with their dominant hand to do it, but I don't know. I couldn't even pinpoint why that, but that's just what felt natural, and that's what stuck. And I became really, really good at it. Weird quality trait, right? Put that on a resume. Yeah, my life story, y'all. I think about it sometimes, I'm like, holy crap. You lived a really wild, crazy life. And I can say it because it's my life. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't change anything. Oh, look at that. I closed it and got paint all over me. It'll wash off, but I just don't want to end up all over my cup. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't necessarily change anything, because obviously that would be silly. But I also am not dumb, and I know that if I hadn't lived that type of childhood or lived the life I've lived, that, you know, I may not be where I'm at now. So I'm a believer. Everything happens for a reason, just like touching that and getting paint all over myself again. I don't know what the reason was for that, but, you know, there's a reason for it. I'm going to move that fully out of the way because I'm afraid that when I pull this off that I'm going to get it. And y'all, I've had some anxiety lately and I bit my cuticle. So I have this big old band-aid on it because dummy here. That's what happens when you have anxiety. And it gets the best of you. You do things like that you know don't do you any good, but you do it anyway. Oh, this is so stinking cute. This is actually better than I imagined it, which is awesome. Yeah, it's so awesome. There's like a little bit of extra paint right here, probably just where I went over the edge a little bit. I think I can just scratch it off. Yeah, got it. And then there's a, oh, that was just a dry piece that flicked. And then I saw that guy. Blue dot. Okay, look at this. Look how cool that looks. And then when we have the temporary tattoo on it, then it will, I think it will make that temporary tattoo pop. And then we'll put a coat of resin. I'm loving it. I love it so much, y'all. I think who this is for is going to love it too. Oh, look at that. Looks so good. I was just cleaning up kind of where that gap was. Yeah, some of those are just some dry specks, but I don't want to go too crazy rubbing on that because, you know what? I just don't want to. I think I went over on the edge right here too. That's funny. Hey, I'm consistent, right? I am consistent. Ooh. Stencil vinyl is thinner than regular vinyl. Or permanent, or I shouldn't say regular vinyl, because really what is regular vinyl? The original, like, non-permanent and permanent vinyl, I guess, maybe, would be original vinyl. So, some of those specks, like, landed in on here, and it's still drying. So they might just have to stay. I might have to try to dauber, and then I'm going to regret this, I know. You ever do something and you're like, I know I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to do it anyway? And then you regret it, and you're like, why'd I do it? I knew that I was going to regret it. I don't regret this terribly bad, but I just know that if I had kept going, I was totally going to regret it. So, it didn't mess it really up too bad, but I knew that I had to get another just little bit of paint on my dauber so that I didn't mess it up so bad. Oh, I think that looks so cute. So stinking cute. I love it. I love it. I think it's just like what was needed for it. It's just like a nice, imperfect, perfect splatter. You know? Imperfect, perfect splatter. Like you can see right here, it looks raised or pointy. That's just the glitter poking on it. And when we put another layer of resin, it'll be fine. It won't stab anybody. I saw it on this one. I knew I'd seen one I wanted to clean up a little bit. I know that it doesn't have to be perfect. I get it. Because it's perfectly imperfect. But, and I'm not like stabbing hard with my needle. It's just scraping the paint off. And then, let's not use my fat thumb to do it. Just a gentle rub on it is pulling that off in a way. For the most part. Oh yeah, let's see. Just a little bit. My fingernail got it. Oh, and there's a blue. dot. I don't want the blue vinyl dot to be on it just because I don't want to seal that accidentally under. But I think that will look good. I'm going to let those sit overnight before I try to put the temporary tattoo, because as if you've watched other tutorials, temporary tattoo does, it's just a little plastic thing with a sticky dauber piece on it. I'm going to throw it away because I don't think it'll do me any good. It's falling apart. But the temporary tattoo, we have to use water to transfer that, and I don't want to use water when the paint's that fresh. I want that paint to actually seal up. So, anyway, hope y'all are enjoying, as usual. Hope you enjoyed some of the storytelling tonight. Hopefully I didn't go too crazy, but I will see y'all again soon. We'll do the next step. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey y'all, so I'm just gonna pop on really fast here. I want to do one more coat just in the big spot, just to get this really white. It's not bad. I debated on just leaving it, and then because I kept debating, I decided I better just go ahead and put on one more coat. Because, you know, when you're questioning it, it's going to kind of bug you. So, I decided we'll just hop on really quick because I want to get this coat on before I go to work, so that tonight I can get the temporary tattoo on, so that then that can sit overnight and we can get resin on it tomorrow, hopefully. That's the ultimate goal, because I'm running out of time to finish this one. Yeah, I think that looks really good. It just needed, there's a couple of those spots that just didn't get enough, especially because we're going over the red and the glitter. And so I just wanted to, and I really want these temporary tattoos to pop. I don't want to have any issue with them not popping, because they're going to be a focal point. Oh, okay, went a little crazy. I probably have enough. Won't need to dip back in. That bump is so strange. It has to be over, of course can't see underneath, but it has to be over one of the leopard spots. These bumps I know are where the leopard spot is. I keep trying to like fill it in or something, but it's not gonna fill in. I hope once the temporary tattoo's on, it will, in the resin, it will kind of hide that. Because right now it just looks like a hole, you know. Probably don't really need much more, but it needs a little. And I'm just dabbing with a dauber. These are relatively cheap, but I can't remember like how much they were. They weren't awful. And you got quite a few of them, so I'm not worried about trying to save them. Like, you could try to maybe wash them out, but I don't know. Might pop that off and end up not being sticky again or something. I don't know. It's all good. That's all good. I'll buy more if I need them. Okay, so that's it. So 3 minutes and another coat on. I think they look great. And hopefully tonight we can get the temporary tattoo on. I'll see you guys again super soon.